Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night right here at the Sports Crib. Oh, wow. A lot of things changed. We thought we would end at 9, but we're at 10. We have a new college champion. Well, let's get this show on the road. You can, if you follow us there on the bottom, you can see where to, excuse me, where to subscribe and donate right here on whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. So here we are, and I see all the guys are here chomping at the bit this evening. Dave, how are you doing?
Doing okay.
All right,
And having Sue's Corner today, too.
What is going on? I had to jump in. No, Dave said Sue's Corner was coming, and I couldn't miss it, so I had to rush and get to the show. I might miss all the rest of them, but I'm not gonna miss the first one, guys. You know what I mean? I'm at least not gonna miss that one. You know what I mean?
And I see Don is here. How you doing, Mr. Hayes?
Doing good. Doing great.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. We've been waiting for a while here, Dave. So put us out of our misery.
All right. So Sue's Corner. She says, the game for the college championship was great. Such drama. Although I'm not a follower of either team, it was fun to see some different teams in the mix for a change instead of the usual suspects. However, I guess I missed the memo where you can be a grad student and play NCAA sports. I understand there can be a 5-year college plan, but didn't know there was a 6-year plan. So I looked it up. There's no official age limit for NCAA college football, but eligibility rules create a practical limit, typically around 5 years from initial enrollment, allowing players to compete for 4 seasons while managing a 5-year clock for eligibility, making players in their mid-20s common due to the red shirts, military service, or delayed enrollment. An athlete's eligibility ends 5 years after their first enrollment, so after 4 seasons of play, regardless of their actual age. Key factors and rules: the 5-year clock. Once a student enrolls full-time at an NCAA institution, their 5-year eligibility clock begins, even if they aren't playing. How does this apply to Carson Beck? Which is a little tricky because 5 years is not 6 years. Beck still had eligibility after transferring from Georgia as a graduate transfer and is currently enrolled in classes. His redshirt season, combined with the NCAA's COVID-19 eligibility waiver, allowed him to play through the 2025-26 season and no further. In NCAA college football, athletes must be full-time students, but can continue playing after undergrad graduation by enrolling in graduate programs if they have eligibility left. Carson Beck graduated from Georgia in 2024, transferred to Miami, and is using his 6th year, extended by redshirt and the COVID rules, likely in graduate studies. He remains enrolled, but is dropping out spring semester to try for the draft. Mendoza is different. Although in grad school, he graduated in 3 years from UC Berkeley and then enrolled in the MBA program at Indiana, where he has been able to play. He was redshirted in 2022 and played for UC in 2023-2024, and he then transferred to Indiana for the 2025 season in grad school. Indiana actually has one of the best MBA programs in the country. Mendoza is known as an outstanding student. So this isn't graduate basket weaving. Mendoza hasn't really played longer than normal. He's only been a football player since 2022 when he was redshirted, so he's really only played 3 years. Mendoza is 22 and Beck is 23. I don't love these bending of the rules. I think that it really limits opportunities for the next wave of college players because there is no room on the rosters if we have players that hang around for 5 or 6 years. I think in Beck's case, the rules were bent to the point of almost being broken, but that's what happens when you need to make the big money and have the big programs which rules college sports today. And that's Sue's Corner. And
Yeah,
I
very,
actually
very
heard
insightful.
another related to it. I think it was a quarterback. He was saying he wasn't taking any courses. I guess he was enrolled as a graduate student, but he said, "Oh, I graduated last year," and so he was playing football, but
He's
not even
enrolled as
taking.
a football player. That's what that's
Well,
what
that's
he's
what it
enrolled
comes
as,
down
a
to,
football player. And
right?
I'm trying to make this money before it runs out. So
Yeah,
we're gonna see 30-year-old players if we could. They're gonna stretch that thing out, man. Especially if you can't go to the NFL and make the money. Man, I'm gonna collect this college money as long as I can, fellas.
Well,
yeah.
Bo Nix had quite a long college career, different circumstances, but you know.
Bill, your microphone is muted. There
There you are.
Yeah. Well, the champion is Cam McCormick. I don't know if you've ever touched that. That's the winner.
How long did he play?
Well, he had about 4 medical red shirts, but he was
Goodness.
29, I think, by the time he graduated or finished up at Miami.
Yeah, well, wasn't there a Miami quarterback back in the day that became a 27-year-old rookie in the NFL?
Well, there have been some guys who were 28, 27, but they always had some sort of, like they had left, right? A lot of the guys went to go play baseball. Like John David Booty was something like 27 or 28, but he spent 4 or 5 years playing baseball. Chad Hutchinson, DJ Shockley. It's a long list, actually. Drew Henson was 26. A lot of guys who did the baseball route end up being, and then in some, obviously another guy who was 28, almost 29 by the time he enters the league is Roger Staubach, but that's a slightly different deal. But yes, he's the only successful guy, in fact, to be that old amongst quarterbacks who entered the league at that age. And the only really successful, like Hall of Fame successful redshirt sophomore to enter is, with an asterisk, is Norm Ben Brocklin, who spent 3 years as a naval officer before finishing one last year at Oregon as essentially a redshirt sophomore and then entering the draft. And he was, I think, 25 or 26 by that point because of his 3 years of naval duty. But the fact is that what I would essentially like to see is, as long as you're making SAP, satisfactory academic progress. So if you are making satisfactory academic progress, you are at least, as an undergraduate, signed up for 12 or more hours, semester hours if you're on a semester plan. And as a graduate student, at least 2 classes. As long as you're enrolled and academically eligible, I don't have a problem with guys sticking around, especially if there's special circumstances like the COVID-19 circumstance or things like that. My issue is, to quote Cardell Jones, the guys who you didn't come to play school, right? Because at that point, it is truly a professional league, right? If you take the student athlete out, then we can't even pretend it's college football anymore, because the college part's now gone because you aren't taking classes, right? So that's I want that one last little fig leaf still attached. Leave a little something to the imagination. Don't take it all the way off. You know what I'm saying? Like, use those shadows. Use the chiaroscuro, the soft lighting, right? Make us feel like it's not pornography. Make it erotic.
So, what did you guys think about that title game? Bill, you had picked Miami to beat Ohio State, and you had both of the contestants. What was your assessment of that game? Was it what you thought?
It was what I thought, and in fact, I'll say this: Miami made it even closer than I thought they might. Miami is, I mean, once again, we all know the story: like 4 and 5 stars everywhere, and then just a sprinkling of 4 stars, mostly 3 and 2 stars on the other side. But one team is the best coach team maybe I've ever seen, but certainly the best I've seen in 20-something years. Just how well coached they are. Guys do their jobs. They had maybe 3 less than optimal. I could spot 3 plays where guys didn't quite do what they were supposed to do, right? All night against a very talented Miami team, there were 3 breakdowns in execution that I spotted for Indiana. All the other plays that Miami made, they earned, right? Except for those 3, every other play they made, they earned it. Somebody made a above the X's and O's play, right, to make it happen. And for the most part, with a couple of exceptions, Miami stayed away from being undisciplined, which has been one of their issues, right? They've been an undisciplined team. We saw one of the least penalized teams against one of the most penalized teams. And to their credit, Miami did not make a lot of silly mistakes. They made 1 or 2 big ones, obviously, unfortunately for them. But they had a close to clean run. But I've been saying this for a while. I'm not one of those people who's new to Kirk Cignetti. I've known who he is for, unlike maybe some other people, I've known who he is for years. I was shocked how long it took him to get this opportunity. Well, not Indiana. I didn't think that's where he's going to end up. I thought he was going to end up somewhere in the SEC, actually. I was a little surprised when he took the Indiana job, but I said to myself, if anyone can make it work, Kirk can. And boy, howdy has he. Like, I had high expectations for what he's going to do, and he's exceeded them. I'm a huge Cignetti guy, and he's still done things I didn't think he would do. I watched Fernando Mendoza win, I guess, maybe the last Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, at least in its original form, and I knew he was going to be good. And when he entered the portal, funny, I thought he ended up in Miami, right? Because obviously a Miami kid. They also have a really good MBA program. Their business school at Miami is actually excellent. But when I heard he's going to Indiana, I was like, uh-oh, right? Because I knew what Cignetti could do. And now you're getting this guy who I really was a big fan of when he was at Cal. And I was like, oh, boy. And then I heard, all the guys he was bringing with him from JMU when he got there. And once again, I guess maybe America doesn't watch James Madison. James Madison went from being a really good FCS program to a really good FBS program like that. Like, there was no adjustment period. I think they went to a bowl game the first year they were eligible to go to a bowl game. So they were, obviously I'm from Virginia. I've known about James Madison football forever. Shout out to my late friend, Doug West, who they have an award named after for the defensive scout team player of the year at James Madison. So I've known about James Madison football since I was a kid, and they've always been good. James Madison's been good forever. They were good before Cignetti. They got even better when Cignetti was there. But, they are the most well-coached. No offense to Saban, who was a terrific coach. And, if he goes back to it, will be a terrific coach again if he decides to coach again. But even he didn't have guys executing at that. Of course, he had a cushion because he had a bunch of 5 and 4 stars. There's no cushion at Indiana. You have to do it right. And I'm sure he drives that into them. Like, we're going to win a bunch of games, but you have to do it right. And so everyone says, practice makes perfect. Well, the add into that, only if you practice perfectly, only if you practice to perfection. And that's what they do at Indiana, right? They have short practices. That's the thing I love about their practices. They are very short. There's no wasted motion. There's no standing around. They have extremely fast, very spirited, efficient, smart practices. And people are at home with their families by 6:30, right? He sends his coaching staff home with maybe a couple of exceptions, 6:30, almost every single day. He is, I'm just going to say it, he's the best coach I've seen in a very, very long time at any level of football. And the team just reflects that.
Don, what did you think about that title game?
I loved every minute of it. I was glued. I was focused. I was buying everything. So much of the Heisman talk this year, of course, I'm not about Arch Manning, but like Diego Pavia, and Fernando Mendoza came out of nowhere to win the Heisman. I mean, he was mentioned in a few things, but I mean, he was down the list. There were a lot of bigger names in front of him, and the way he just played, he made play after play all year. The dude is underrated for his accuracy. I mean, he's legit. I saw that Tom Brady was on the sidelines. He's kind of scouted him out, I think, for the Raiders, and I hope Mendoza does not go to the Raiders. That would be.
Oh, he's
Raiders
going.
had the
Oh,
first
he's
pick.
going, brother. He had it there. I can tell you that right now. He is going.
Too late.
It is too late. Yeah, absolutely.
But
I got.
Well,
I had an Uber driver the other day, a Raiders fan, talking about Mendoza already.
Right. I'm surprised they're not selling jerseys already there. Like, I'm
no,
surprised. Have you-
some of it probably already is. I mean, there's capitalism. But yeah, I was just impressed, and we were talking about Mendoza being at Berkeley, graduated 3 years. Berkeley's not an easy school to graduate from. You got in California, you got Stanford and Berkeley and Cal Berkeley, and those are like the two like Ivy Leagues on the West Coast. And so 3 years. I think he's a mechanical engineer.
No, nope.
Well,
Finance.
Finance. Okay.
He had a what do you call it? Internship with not Bear Stearns. What's the other big investment banking? But it'll come back to me. But yeah, he's got a brilliant mind for finance, and he plans to be at some point be a hedge fund manager.
Smart man. It's a smart field to get into.
So when he takes
money
his
he's gonna make.
when he does his pre-draft, I wonder what his Wonderlic is going to be. Probably off the charts, but yeah. So yeah, I was just amazed by what I saw, and kind of sad that college football is over. But I guess I'll live on through these final 3 games of the NFL season.
Yeah, and then you got spring, so you'll be all right, Don. I mean,
Yeah, but
it's those 2 weeks in between the Super Bowl and the division that kind of like is the downer, I guess. Reg, what did you think about that title game?
This is interesting. When it comes to Mendoza and the coach for Indiana, these are things that are kind of just coming on my radar. I'm not really a huge college fan outside of watching Bama games and Georgia games for the most part. What struck me as interesting watching Indiana play throughout the second half of the season, kind of as they're coming onto the national radar, is they seemed polished and unbeatable at a certain point. Like they just seemed like they were, there's a certain, when you used to watch the Patriots play, when they were going on these Super Bowl runs, there was always a thought that the other team's got to play perfect to like beat them. Like they're going to have to play perfect, man, because these Patriots are not going to beat themselves. Tom's not going to beat himself. Patriots aren't going to beat themselves. So you're going to play perfect. And then when it comes to a situation with Indiana, when I'm watching them play the second half of the year, it just seems like they're just steamrolling teams. And it's just like casually steamrolling them, though. Like like casually steamrolling teams. And like Bill's saying, getting back home to kiss the kids and the family and all that stuff. You beat a team down by 30 and you're back home with the family eating dinner casually. Like, and it seemed like that all the way through, guys. Like they completed it. Like they kind of caught on for me second half of the season, and they never got off the train. Like it went all the way through the end of the year. So that's not something you see a lot. You see kind of pitfalls for teams here and there. Maybe a team catches on, a couple wins, couple losses. But that didn't seem to be the case for Indiana this year. And hat goes off. Heisman, championship. What else can you say?
Dave?
Yeah, I think, and I mentioned this before, I'm just impressed. I think 5 years ago, you would not have, those two teams would have never made it to the championship. And I think that this is what the transfer portal and the NIL has done. It's spread the talent around. And it's also helped prevent teams where, Alabama's third team at one time probably would have been the 18th ranked team in the nation.
Right.
If they were a team. So you can't stockpile that talent because they can leave now. So I think that that's a big credit. I think, with Indiana too, both sides of the ball, they were very, very strong. And I'm not sure, and maybe Bill will know, but it sounds like Signetti is really able to hold on to his coaching staff. So, like, his staff isn't like all of it. You would think that other teams would be grabbing them, or the NFL would be grabbing, their offensive coordinator or whatever. And it seems like they stick around them, that they're very loyal to them.
He's had
So,
Haynes and Shanahan from the very beginning. From the beginning of his head coaching, he's taken them everywhere he's gone.
yeah. So he really is something. He I guess he exudes or attracts loyalty. And Pittsburgh guy, he coached at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I think they won the
Go Vulcans.
Pennsylvania. Which one?
I said, go Vulcans.
No, that's California.
No, it's Cal PA. Sorry, that's right.
No, he was up at IUP. They were the Indians, but I don't know what they called it themselves now. But they won a championship there. So he's. And I think that his name has even been mentioned with some NFL jobs, but he's not going to leave. He's 64. I think he's where he wants to be, and he can be wherever he wants to be, because people would be crazy not to pick him up. And I'm very happy for Mendoza. I mean, he had all the pressure on him to perform, and he made the grade. A lot of these young guys, sometimes, the pressure is on and then they kind of fall flat. I didn't see that from him. So.
Yeah, okay. Dave, it's kind of interesting. Mr. Kraft came out with a statement about an 18-game season and an increase. He wants all 32 teams to play in Europe. Dave, you've been one of the guys that said 18 games is too much. What do you think about Kraft? Is this about the fans, or is this just about being greedy?
Follow the money. It's all about money. And the reality of it, I guess the NFLPA will be right behind it, because the more money that they make, well, then they have 47% of the shared revenues. So then the more money will be available for the players. But again, I mean, look at all the injuries this year. I mean, they're going to have to water down the sport, either by expanding the rosters, adjusting and they've already adjusted the rules where the game is not as violent as it was. And parts of that are really good, reducing the concussions and things like that. But you're going to see more and more business decisions out there. And so the football that we're seeing now, like if you watch watch some games, even from the early 2000s, we're watching the game change. And the fact of the matter is the game has always evolved ever since it's been changing, ever since it's been in. But I wish that they would go back to a 16-game season, going to 2 preseason games already. Now the first 3 or 4 games are basically teams adjusting, trying to do what in the old days they were doing when they had 4 to 6 preseason games. That's when they got themselves down as a team, and now that's being done during the regular season. So I think the fans are kind of getting ripped off. It's like new and improved, but the quality of what they're getting is less, and so. And for the international games, now I got to say, I've not been a fan of international games. I went to Dublin to watch the Steelers play, and after that game, I said the next time the Steelers have an international game, I'm going, because it was a really, really great experience. But that said, you look at what it creates are inequities in the scheduling, and so I think like Cleveland really got hammered where they're flying to London and then they're going back and having to play an away game on the way back, and so what they're doing is they're sacrificing competitive parity for money. And that's the fact of the matter. You're going to hear it more and more. Sports entertainment. I've heard Mike Tomlin before use the term, and I've heard other owners and coaches using the term sports entertainment. Where does that term come from? Professional wrestling, because that was actually a legal term that they were using in order to avoid antitrust laws and oversight by state organizations that normally would oversee boxing and that. They used to oversee wrestling. Well, the way they got out of it was professional entertainment. And that's what we're getting from the NFL now. Just listen to them. They're not fibbing.
Bill, business decisions, sports entertainment, what's up here? Fan friendly or just greed?
Yeah, the real irony is that you have the coming of, as you said, of the term sports entertainment coming in just as gambling goes from being like a garnish or a side dish, and then it went from being a side dish to like a sauce that was all over everything, and now it's the main course, right? There's not a single part of the game that isn't officially somehow associated with FanDuel or MGM or what's the other one? The other one. Yeah, all of them, right? They all
Kings.
Yeah, all of them. All of them are in their sleeper. Everybody is getting a piece of that pie. And so we now have, I mean, in some ways the game is healthier-ish than it's ever been before in terms of its market penetration, right? It's in more parts of the world than ever before. They can sell out, like these huge soccer stadiums in Mexico and all that stuff. So the financial health of football, I'll put it that way, it is stronger than it's ever been before. It's that part stronger. But there is a creeping slow rot on the soul of the game, right? And once again, I don't want to sound like the old curmudgeon, and guys weren't playing just for the love of the game even 50, 60 years ago. I mean, they were getting paid. Johnny Unitas wasn't getting paid the way guys are getting paid now, but they were all getting paid. They all lived a decent lifestyle, and things like that. But there was a time when, some of the guys, if they weren't stars, had to have a job, right? They had an off-season job. They would be gym coaches. They would sell insurance. They would be work for Anheuser-Busch. That was a big one, like insurance, Anheuser-Busch, things like that. People would have stories about, going into a place that, to buy a suit and say like, hey, that guy looks like Lance Allworth. That is Lance Allworth. He works here. Like it's not a joke. It's actually not a joke. Like it was in the first few years of his career, he had a side job selling suits for Hart, Schaffner, and Marks. Look it up. So that's what's changed, right? There's nobody, even the guys on the practice. Well, okay, maybe on the practice squad, but other than guys on the practice squad, everyone else can just do football. And you would think the skill level would skyrocket, right? But that's not what's happening. Part of what David said about cutting down on the preseason, you can't hit on consecutive days. I mean, all these things are different, so different, like wildly, completely different from the game that everyone who was born, I guess, before about 1980 or so grew up with, that there's moments where the game is almost unrecognizable in certain moments where it's like, wait a second, that's a flag, right? We all of a certain age have had a moment 2 or 3 times in every single game where we try to figure out how's that a flag? It's like, oh, that's right. I get it. You can't do that anymore. Like the body weight thing, like that, like I'm good with all the stuff about hits to the head and a lot of this stuff, but I still puzzle with how you expect defensive players to not land on top of the person they're tackling when they're going full speed and the other person's moving. That's That's some like quantum mechanics stuff you're asking guys to do on a football field. Like, how can I not? And I've seen guys try it, like when they kind of come at the side, and then if God help you if it's Josh Allen or God help you if it's Justin Herbert, because now he just rolls this way and boop, you fall off him and he's gone. Oh, how'd that happen? It's got to be incredibly frustrating playing defense. But getting back to what David said, the answer to all of your questions you have about the modern state of football is money. Every single question you have, if you're ever confused about anything going on in football, remind yourself the answer will always be money. That will probably not change. Mr. Scott has joined us, I see. Sorry.
Yeah,
Before 10
to what
o'clock.
you were saying, Bill. One thing I wanted to add is and it's the rapidity of the change. In 2008, the Steelers had to reorganize their ownership in part because the NFL wanted to keep such separation from gambling. And the Rooney family owned a dog track in Florida, and they had 49%, not 51, 49% interest in a casino. And because of that, they had to reorganize their ownership. And now today, gambling sports books are official sponsors through these sports books.
Reg, what do you think about? Oh, go ahead, Dave. Finish your
No,
thought.
that's. I just wanted to add that to what Bill was saying.
What's your thoughts there, Reg?
I think that this is probably going to happen. I mean, when you're looking at all of the relevant parties, like the fans, the league seems to be on board. I think the PA is going to be on board because they're going to make more money. If everybody's on board, I fail to see how progress gets slowed on this. But maybe it takes implementation time. But where's the roadblock? There's no roadblock anywhere. Everybody wants it. So it's kind of like it's going to happen. So now what we got to do is figure out how we make it happen. And then and maybe kind of to alleviate some of the concerns that the concerned parties will have, you kind of go through some of that. You probably try to see which concerns you can mitigate, which ones you can't. But I think everybody's on board. So it's just hard for me to see how it wouldn't happen. When it comes to the greed and the fan friendly, I feel like it's yes. I feel like it's all of it. It is both. It is fan friendly and the greed. And the fans now through gambling are greedy themselves. They also want to see more games played. So the pie guys was always there. It might have been hidden. We might have acted like they weren't gambling. We might have pretended like they weren't gambling, but they were. We all know they were. We all know that they're gambling on the planes. They're gambling with each other. They're everything. This has been here the whole time. It's just out in front now. And when it comes to the international game, I think that you would kind of have to dive in or stay out. Like, don't put a toe in there because every team needs to go through dealing with the international travel if you're going to do it. And you're going to really lean into it. I think it's something that every team should have to deal with if they decide to really lean into it.
Mr. Scott, I see you're raring to get in here and throw your bones down. So what do you think about Mr. Kraft and his 18-game schedule and all 32 teams going overseas?
Well, I do have to make a quick statement about the rules and stuff. In the words of the great Luther Vandross, a catch is not a catch. Even we all see it being made, so this is kind of what it's come down to. Now they want to continue 18. Well, people can't stay healthy as it is, and they don't even play in. So how are you going to figure this thing out? They don't play in the preseason. Okay. So men can come out and get hurt. Rodgers come out last year with the Jets, get hurt first game. First play, went down first game, non-contact, down. He's out. So, no, you can't get this much out of these players. I mean, yeah, you're paying them. You want to get your money back, I guess. And like everyone was saying, the dollars are really driving this thing. When I first started watching the Vikings, I think they played 12 games. But they had 4 or 5 exhibition games. And they would win to get to the playoffs. They get the Rams or somebody up here at Metropolitan Stadium. but they didn't play that long. They weren't playing this time of year. After Thanksgiving, it was about over, unless you get into the playoffs, 2 weeks to the Super Bowl. So I don't like the 18, because then they're not going to play any exhibition game. I don't see how I don't see how it would work,
Don, what do you think? And you watch a lot of these, young kids, especially from Texas and some of the other schools around you. What do you think?
Well, I would like to see the rest of the NFL until the day I die to be kind of like it was this year. Keep the number of games the way it is. I wouldn't change the thing we've done this year. I wish we'd go back to the old style kickoffs, but I think that's going to be here for a stay. But I don't know. I mean, I enjoy just watching the game, and I know there's concerns about it going overseas, and I think the NFL would be a hit in Europe if they committed to it. But I'm not. But David came up with some good points about like Cleveland. They got back-to-back NFL games, and they're a shitty team anyway. And that just made it that much worse. So, yeah. I mean,
but they were a shitty team that got paid.
Oh yeah. They no one mismanages their money quite like Cleveland. If maybe Dallas, but I mean, there's teams that just burn money like it's
But I think the overseas deal with the Vikings with 2 games in a row, I think that ruined their season. I really do. I think going over there to whole disruption for your routine and all of that, my buddies.
I think what ruined the season is McCarthy not being that great. I think that's what ruined your season. Your team just not being that good is probably what ruined it.
Well, yeah, he's the top ruiner, but I'm just saying that going over there those 2 weeks in a row, I just think that just really discombobulated the routine. And I don't know how that's going to work with the travel. And my buddies are like, well, they're pros. I mean, they fly first class. They can, this is no big deal for them. They stay in the best hotels. But they're still.
They'll deal with it. Yeah, they'll be all right.
Well,
compared to how it used, when you look at the conditions that Bill described for previous players and what they had to go through all those years ago, I think these guys will be all right, man. I think these guys are doing okay for themselves.
Here's an idea. If we're going to take the NFL international, why does it have to be Europe? Why can't we go to South America? Have to change your time zones. The Mexicans, south of Texas, I mean, they love the Dallas Cowboys.
Where's Brazil?
They played in Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil, Argentina,
South America, Brazil. They did play in Brazil.
Chile, Paraguay. I mean, let's go to those places.
They'll probably hit more of the soccer stadiums if they lean more into Latin America.
And after that, let's go invade Canada. I mean, they're probably starving for some real
that language, man. I mean,
they're starving for some real football. None of those 12 men, put 3 in motion, and
it might be time to read that disclaimer, James.
3 downs, 3 downs,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but we actually had some guys that played high school football in Canada that came down to United States. What's his name? Played running back for Oklahoma State a few years ago. I think he's with Miami. Yeah, he's a Canadian.
Well, so are both the Sidney Brown twins. Are from Mississauga, Ontario.
Yeah.
Sidney and
Roy Jarella.
Yeah, are from Mississauga, Ontario.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's probably some kick-ass linemen coming out of Germany and the Czech Republic, whatever. But
Estonia, man. Oh.
Yeah, those Estonian shit.
The first number retired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 70, was by a German-born Steeler, Ernie Stautner.
Yeah,
he was German. He was born in Germany and then came to the U.S. as a young kid.
Yeah.
Stoddard was a badass.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
So, Don, we woke up to the news that there are now 10 coaches that have been fired. And McDermott is certainly someone I don't know whether it certainly wasn't on anybody's radar that I know of. But the owner kind of threw him under the bus. What's your thoughts about the firing of McDermott there, the Bills coach, Don?
Well, that came as a complete shock. But then I did a little deep dive. Apparently, he said some things that where he threw maybe the general manager. And I'm not saying he's wrong for doing it. Not saying he's wrong for doing it. But you don't, he's your boss. You don't do it. But he kind of threw the ownership and the general manager on the bus too. So it goes both ways. But thing is, if you're the low man on the totem pole, don't do that. Bite your lip, shut it, and go do better next year. But that's a complete shock because Buffalo has been pretty solid. They're always seem like they're always a step away or turnover away or a missed pass in the end zone away from being the big dogs. And this year, in my picks, I always picked Buffalo, and then they would fuck me over, and so I just stopped picking them after so long.
So you picked them for a while there, Don. You held on for a minute.
Yeah,
I recall.
I was, yeah.
I think Don held on up until a few weeks ago. It was
Well, I shredded all the previous sheets, so we don't have any more evidence.
Bill, what's your thoughts on the firing of McDermott?
Well, now both of the William and Mary teammates, right, are free agents in terms of their coaching careers. I remember when Sean McDermott was a walk-on defensive back at William and Mary. My mother went there for law school, and it's a fairly short drive from where I grew up to Williamsburg. My sister used to have a home in Williamsburg. So I'm very familiar with Sean McDermott, very familiar, obviously, with Mike Tomlin, who actually grew up in the area, and McDermott just came down for college. And there's some strong similarities between the two besides just going to William & Mary. These are, the motivator CEO coaches as opposed to X's and O's guys, right? I think the current wave of hiring is around the guy who's seen as a force multiplier, right? Someone who brings something beyond just being able to get guys ready to play, right? I think that used to be enough. And a lot of teams have decided that that's not. And Joshua Patrick Allen, who is this enormous talent, and everybody, throws bouquets at his feet, and largely deservedly so, but he definitely has a tendency to not play at his very, very best at the most critical moment in those big games, right? He'll play off the charts for 97% of that game. And then there's 3% where he does something that is just like, what? Right? Whether it be not protecting the ball while he's scrambling and ball gets poked out, or missing an open receiver by 4.5 yards, or not seeing an open receiver breaking down one side of the field. Now, sometimes that guy's not running a real route, right? Sometimes that guy's running a clear out. But how many times have we seen Pat Mahomes hit a touchdown to a guy running clear out, right? He's not even running a real route, but like Demarcus Robinson somewhere hears his ears, feels his ears burning. Not even a real route, but hey, nobody's covering you, and you're going to score if I get it to you. So someone has to land on the grenade, though, right? Someone has to be the person that is thrown or jumps on the grenade. And he had some choice words for Brandon Beane, particularly. And I'm reminded of, speaking of coaches who were on the carousel, of what happened between Chris Greer and, of course, Brian Flores. And, of course, that was over two in particular. But they had quite the little dust-up that led to one of them being shown the door. You don't always have to be best friends with your general manager to have a successful coach-general manager relationship. I mean, Tony Dungy and Bill Polian weren't best friends, but they had a good, solid working relationship. There have been times when, maybe in case of Belichick, he usually picked his general managers, so they usually got along pretty well. Usually were guys that he sort of groomed and brought up. But a lot of times, like I said, as long as it's a good, solid working relationship, the working relationship part of Bean and Madur's relationship has started to break down. And it wasn't just this game, right? I mean, this may have been sort of a breaking point moment, but this has been coming for maybe a year and a half, from my understanding and my hearing, that they have been grating on each other's nerves a little bit. And there's been some pushback on certain things. And McDermott wanting certain players, and McBean and Brandon Bean wanting maybe slightly different players, or them disagreeing over who should be prioritized when free agent contracts are negotiated for. And of course, McDermott is himself a former defensive back, as I said. The secondary, I won't say it's the worst secondary in the world, but they have not invested a large amount of their cap in their defensive back room, right? They brought back Tre'Davious White now that he's not expensive anymore, right? He used to be very expensive. They let him go, right? They, stopped being so expensive. They brought him back. Cole Bishop is a young player on the ascent. And I even like, in fact, maybe Christian Benford might be the best of all of them in the group. But see, that's three people. That's three names. In modern NFL football, you need 5, right? You have to have 5 really good coverage people. If you have 3, that's too few, right? And my understanding is that Brandon Bean and McDermott had some active discussions about maybe the lack of what McDermott perceived as a lack of commitment to building more depth in the secondary. But, I mean, most of this stuff I'm sort of hearing from back channels. I don't know if that's what most of this was. But clearly, as was mentioned before, when you can criticize certain people, but you can't criticize certain people out loud where everyone can hear you, right? That's where it becomes a problem. If you're in your office, or if you're with your coaching staff in a closed meeting room and you're airing out your boss, that's one thing. But yeah, if there's press around, something's going to happen. And that's what happened.
Mr. Scott, what did you think when you heard about McDermott being fired?
A lot of the firings were mystifying. I mean, that was one of them. I mean, did this guy from Miami, did he get a job somewhere? I thought I heard somebody hired him.
We'll talk about him later, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many openings now. Maybe Tomlin might. I don't know. Right now this is really kind of a musical chairs thing that I'm seeing right now. I mean, to me, our general manager should go. I mean, he should have been gone. I mean, this JJ getting rid of Darnold, getting rid of the guy in Indianapolis, Daniel Jones. They had all these guys on your team.
You did not love Darnold last year. Stop it. Like that. The love for Darnold now is just so like you got amnesia or something here. Like you love the guy now.
That wins 14 games. How can you not like somebody like that?
Because
you weren't bear hugging him last year. You weren't bear hugging him.
As a
they
matter
could have
of fact,
signed him earlier. They could have signed him and just say, JJ, you wait another year. Let's roll with this guy. I mean, that was just an easy call to do because he had proved himself. I mean, what he's doing with Seattle, I'm saying, it makes them just look stupider every day. Makes them look dummy every day. And then that game that he won, 124 yards. The defense, the offense, not making most of the big passes when you need them. That's how you win games. So, yeah. Kwesi Mafusi, no, I do not believe in him at all. I have no belief in him whatsoever.
Dave.
Yeah, well, I think what's happening in and we'll talk about Baltimore, but it's both locations, Baltimore and Buffalo, is the Schottenheimer syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
14,
you got
Chargers, Schottenheimer, like the 14-2 Schottenheimer.
Yeah, exactly. Here
Okay.
here you have a guy. He takes the Chargers. They're 14-2, very strong competitive team. They fall apart in the playoffs. He gets fired,
Yep.
and then
Dumb decision.
they
Terrible.
bring in Morv Turner of all people, and then the team went downhill from there. But I kind of look. One of the things that they were talking about was that, oh well, McDermott, we selected players in the draft that the GM didn't really have that highly rated.
Hmm.
And this is the owner, Pergula. And it's like, first of all, why are you airing your dirty laundry out in public like this?
Running for cover, man. Running for cover.
Secondly, why would you go into a draft without the GM and the coach in lockstep? And that's the owner's job. He needs to make sure that his general manager and his coach are a collaborative partnership. And if he's not doing that, that's on him, is the way I look at it. And I mean, that's one of the things, the Steelers have always been a little bit boring, but one of the things that they do very well is they don't throw each other under the bus, and they come to a collaborative decision. This is the direction we're going. You won't see Omar Khan undercutting the coach, like Mike Tomlin, and you don't see Mike Tomlin undercutting the general manager. And I would expect that whoever they're interviewing for the next job, that's what they're looking for. And this is in Buffalo. I mean, I don't get it. You're going to the playoffs year after year. You got a shot. And Josh Allen made some like this one, where he tried to extend the play during the game and gave up the ball to the other team. I mean, that's the coach's fault. I don't get it. I mean, you're punishing success.
This goes out to all.
And you have all these teams. You have the very worst teams that have new owners. Tennessee, the Raiders. And then you have these teams that are in the playoffs that are looking. And now Pittsburgh's a little different where the coach stepped away. But when you had the owner firing the coaches and they're going to the playoffs, I just don't get it. To me, he should be figuring out that, hey, we're good enough to get to the playoffs. How do I get my management team together so that they're working more effectively, so now we can take it to the next level? And instead, it seems like he's going to be starting all over again.
So have you discussed why Tomlin stepped away? Have you discussed why? I know there's a lot of sadness. I know there's a lot of sadness in the room. I threw something out that could have been a possibility, and Reg came right out and just jumped all over me. He just came and
I am ready to defend my guy, man. If it takes that, I'm out here. I'm ready, man. Via email, text message, or show. I'm going to defend. I'm going to defend, man.
The mediocrity was locked in. I mean, he could do the mediocrity as long as he wanted to. He could stay.
Mediocrity, you mean the division winner?
Art Rooney, I mean, to the point that we're discussing, Art Rooney was prepared to bring Mike Tomlin back to coach in 2026.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't recall him being in part of this fired coaching situation.
I don't know. Maybe the Vikings. Maybe the Vikings
There was no news conference. There was no talking about. I'm really sad. This was my team for all these years. There was nothing. It was just an abrupt.
You don't have to do that, man. We're professionals here. You can just step down. I'll see you later, guys. They can keep it in house. This defense.
And says there's no. They can't look at things.
He addressed the team. He went to the people that were most important to him, and that was the coaches and the team.
What about the fans? What about the fans?
The fans are going to be the fans. The Yinzers are going to Yinz.
Right. He went to the most important people.
And the Pittsburgh fans have been calling to fire him for years now.
Did he say why he quit?
Because
no, he didn't. He never said. He never came out and said why he quit.
I don't think he really owes anybody, but being an excellent coach, the way that he has been, I think is all he owes.
What he told the team is that it might be time for a change, somebody that can make things more optimistic for you guys. That's what he told the team.
How do you know that? Was that broadcast somewhere? Was that?
I
He
want
took
you
accountability.
Reg, I want you to talk about the McDermott firing and maybe the possibility of the Vikings hiring Tomlin as their general manager. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, I say, man, that's it, man. The show would be over, man. I would have to get off right then. I can't take such stressful things like that. But I will tell you, when it comes to the Bills, why isn't Josh Allen getting more smoke here? Like, I think Josh Allen, it's time for the smoke for you, bro. Like, because at the end of the day, this is what happens to the greats, and it happens to all of them. And it's time for you. And the thing is, I came for Lamar last year. I said, Lamar, bro, it's time for you. Like the MVPs, all this stuff is great, but you haven't taken that step. And when I said about Lamar last year, you can't be the reason that you guys lose. You can't even be in scintilla of a reason of why you guys lose that game. You got to put up 400. You got to have like 5 touchdowns. And if you lose, maybe they let you live. But you didn't. You were a reason. You had a hand in losing. Josh Allen's had a hand in where they are. And it seems to be escaping accountability here. And what I don't understand is why. Because at the end of the day, if you want to sit in that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes trifecta, which Josh Allen has enjoyed sitting, which Lamar Jackson has enjoyed sitting, and they don't really deserve to be there. Patrick Mahomes needs to leave them. They're actually, Patrick Mahomes is up there. That's not even a trifecta. It's Patrick Mahomes and these other guys until they win something.
Lamar was hurt.
Until they win something, it's these other guys. And what it is I don't understand why the coach would get all the responsibility for this. And when you hear what he said, guys, I didn't hear any lies in his commentary. I'm looking at the coaches. I'm trying to look up what McDermott says, and I see no lies detected. Who's playing wide receiver here? Guys, stop it. You know nobody's there since Diggs left, and he is in the Super Bowl right now, headed towards there. Rapidly headed toward the Super Bowl. That's your guy right there that you just let go. So how does the GM escape accountability? If you either got to clean the house, like they did in Atlanta, I said get rid of both. It's GM and coach. If we're going to clean house, let's just go. Let's just do it all together. And when this particular situation, it's not like you can look at the Bills and point out a bunch of players on the team and say, hey, this guy's there, this guy's there, this guy's there, this guy's there. I got Josh Allen. I got James Cook. Couple guys on defense. What do we got here that's making the GM look so stellar? So I think that it's misplaced, Rage. I think that Josh Allen deserves the smoke. If you want to be considered the greats, like the real greats, you got to get all of what comes with that, and that's some kind of accountability for the losing that's been taking place in Buffalo.
Reg, what do you think about your new hire?
I like him, but at the end of the day, it's going to be polarizing here in Atlanta. I like Stefanski. I like any of these guys. You can roll the dice, and I like any of these guys. Here's the problem, though. Problem is we don't have a quarterback, and we're going to be looking for another coach in 2 to 3 years if you don't find one. I don't care.
You just got a number one. Just got a number one quarterback. You got a number one quarterback.
Who's the number one quarterback we got?
The guy that got hurt.
Who is that? Who's that number
Penix.
one though? Like you said, a number one quarterback. That's Penix.
Penix.
Okay.
Penix.
Okay. Penix got drafted in the first round. Number one, I'm not sure. Maybe like this kid has played like maybe 13 games. He's played 13 games. Now I understand in JJ McCarthy years that's a lifetime, but he's only played 13 games. So it's kind of like end of the day. And to be honest with you guys, he had not earned it. For me, like he wasn't setting the world on fire. He was no Drake May out there.
So you're happy
even
with
then
Cousins.
he hadn't earned it.
So you're happy with Cousins then? Okay.
No, I mean that what else are we gonna? Who else is gonna play the position at this point? We don't have nobody else here, and we're either gonna have to punt the position this year. I'm not sure exactly what's gonna happen, and that's one of the reasons Harbaugh is not sitting in Atlanta right now.
All right.
Yeah. So, Mr. Scott, what did you think about Harbaugh going to the Giants? And what was his reason for quitting the Ravens? I mean, for getting fired from the Ravens. I'm sorry.
What are your reasons for getting fired?
I could have been just a cumulative. I mean, this is the second year that he's had that running back, isn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Henry. Yeah, for sure.
Mr. Henry, had the best running back. I mean, he made some questionable decisions on using him where he could have controlled a lot of games using Derrick Henry. Didn't do it. But I'm not surprised he got snapped up right away. Got a big bag to go to the Giants, which they got money. They want to make a splash. But I was kind of surprised that he got fired. I mean, he's been there a while. They're still good. I mean, but this was a disappointing year. This was a very disappointing year for them. And so he just, that's what happens. You bear the brunt of it. It's only people like Tomlin, they don't bear brunts. They don't.
That's because they keep winning. That's why they don't bear them. They bear them because they have winning seasons, multiple.
So they just continue to just, they walk on water, according to some people. But
I mean, when you're winning all the time, that's kind of what happens to you.
Bill, what did you think about that?
Atlanta? Why doesn't he go to Atlanta?
Oh, why doesn't he, man? Oh my good. I'll take off work for that, guys. If that happened, let you know. I'll take off. I already told my friends. If it would remotely happen, I'm taking off immediately.
Bill, what did you think about
I mean, it's the Giants want to reestablish themselves as a blue chip operation. And say what you want about either of the Harbaugh brothers, right? They come from a football family. They are obviously the sons of Jack Harbaugh. They have been around football from prior to their actual conception. They are football people, right? There's not a John Harbaugh podcast or a Jim Harbaugh podcast. I can't remember. I've seen maybe Jim Harbaugh do maybe one or two commercials a few years back, but I haven't seen anything recently. I can't remember ever seeing a John Harbaugh commercial. Maybe he has some local stuff that I didn't, maybe I don't live in the right part of the country. But apparently he hasn't done a single national commercial that I know of. So these are people that don't really have like hobbies or interests, right? I'm sure they love their children, whatever, that kind of thing. Regular church attendance. But other than that, the classic 3Fs, faith, family, football, that's it, right? That's all I ever hear about. I don't see people building their, outside brand, right? So this is a person that is going to establish a culture, right? They wanted a culture builder. And the two big culture builders who are available are Tomlin and Harbaugh. They're choosing between those two. Those are the two culture builders, right? There's lots of scheme guys out here in the mix. If you want a defensive scheme guy, you've got Minter, you've got Shula, you've got Flores. You want an offensive scheme guy, you've got, to some extent, McCarthy. You've got even some of these super, super young guys getting interviews, like guys I've interviewed when they were players, like Nathan Shieldhouse and Davis Webb, who I think their combined age is still less than Kurt Cignetti's age. In fact, it is. The combined age of Nathan Shieldhouse and Davis Webb is still less than the age of Kurt Cignetti. There's a moment for you. So there's lots of scheme guys out there, but they decided that's not what they want. They didn't want another Brian Daboll, right? They've tried that. They wanted a culture builder. And that means you're deciding between Tomlin and Harbaugh. And Tomlin, according to some reports, is going to sit out for a year. Who knows? But the guy that they interviewed and the guy that just essentially not to leave the facility once he got there is John Harbaugh. And I'm not surprised, right? I'm sure he said all the things about how he wants to run the operation. They were like, yep, we found it. I feel like it was a pretty easy decision. And it's a great fit. He fits what they want, and he's going to give them what they want. Now, does this mean Super Bowls? Maybe, maybe not. They have some components, but they really need to draft well, probably twice in a row. And obviously, free agency needs to be good to them, but they need two good drafts and one good free agency.
But nobody still wants to touch on why Tomlin lost. Everybody there, it's almost like this is
lost the game or lost this as a season.
Why he quit?
Any clarification there.
Why did he quit?
Okay.
Why did he just walk away? Just like that, all of a sudden the game's over and he walks away. He didn't get fired. So what?
Scott.
Does he want to go somewhere else? Does he do it? What does he
go
do?
to
Nobody knows.
Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, go to NFL.com. They have a great article about Tomlin and why he decided to step down. And then you can come back next week and give us the real reason on why.
Yeah, but that article, you or Dave or Reggie could have wrote it, and so it's going to be so biased that well, I
It's
want to
just
know
filled
what
with
is the
facts. We
real.
can't help the guy is so great. That's not
What
my
is
fault,
real
man.
about this? What?
He
Why
just
did
wins. He just wins games. I mean,
I've
despite
never
me.
seen anybody just walk away like that. The job is his. It just walks
Well,
away and then just mysteriously.
He can come back.
There's
He didn't
rumors
walk
of
away
something
forever.
that
Well,
happened, but nobody wants to talk about it. So I just
well,
want.
no. What I think, I'll give you my personal opinion, is that he did not want to make the same mistake that the Big Ben made and stayed 2 years too damn long. But that's my opinion. They might have another one.
He
But
should
I
have made
like
that
Ben.
decision
I'm
10
a
years
fan of
ago.
Ben as well.
Well,
Ben
mean-
should have stayed. But from our quarterbacks, Ben should have stayed 2 more years. Is what it looks like.
and Mr. Scott, we have seen guys walk away, especially either when things sort of drive into a rut, like when Andy Reid stepped down in Philadelphia, right? He was winning, right? I mean, his record in Philadelphia is quite impressive, but they weren't getting quote unquote over the hump. And I think both parties.
He had also had a personal tragedy there, not
Right.
too long before
Correct.
that.
That's also true.
And he said why. He said why. He was very respectful.
Tomlin said why,
This
Mr.
guy,
Scott.
Tomlin didn't say
If
anything.
you
No,
just,
he is not. He is
if
saying he is
if
not.
you
He
would
ran
read,
away and
if you would
he ran away
read,
and said
Mr.
he's not
Scott,
saying anything.
if
There's
don't
something
think
you
else
would
going
read,
on.
man.
Everybody
then
knows
you
that
see
there's
why.
something else going on, but nobody wants to say it. Everybody doesn't want to talk
I think
about
they all.
the fact.
Everybody's saying it. I don't think you want to read it. Like everybody has said it. Though. Everybody has spoken what it is.
Hold on, Mr. Scott. Let me ask you another question. Why are all of these Green Bay Packers all of a sudden in Miami? And what do you think that's going to mean to your boy Tua?
Well, Tua, I mean, his shelf life is kind of gone. I mean, I don't know how much more you could take a chance on him being your starter. Did anybody that goes from Green Bay to Miami, I wouldn't blame him one bit. Sitting up here in this ice box that I'm sitting up in here, Miami sounds like a real. I may go down to Miami and just stay down there for a week, just for the heck of it.
Don, what's your thoughts on this? We got the GM from the Packers going down to Miami. We got the Jeff Heffley. He's going down as the head coach. What do you think of it? Does this mean that Tua might be out and Malik Willis in?
It could be. The thing about the NFL and even NBA, I mean, you switch up your front office staff, fairly often, and you never know what you'll get when that happens. Miami needs help for sure. So if he can go down to Green Bay and go down to Miami and enjoy the better weather and the challenge, more power to him. I think that's great. But the other topic, and I haven't really been asked my opinion, but I'm going to give it to you. I think Mike Tomlin is one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the NFL. I also think he's one of the top people in the NFL. I think he's been in Pittsburgh for a while, and there is a thing called burnout, and so I think he just said, you know what, I'm done. I've proved I've had to, and I'm going to step aside. So maybe he got fired behind the doors. I don't know, but I'm just going to say
that happened.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I think he stepped aside and said, let a younger man take over. I mean, I've been in the coaching business. I've seen it happen. So God bless Coach Tomlin. If he wants to come back in the coaching after a while, he's more welcome to come to the Cowboys.
Well, Don, can I just ask you quick? Any comments on C.J. Stroud?
Ooh, I love CJ. I love CJ Stroud.
He's taking a lot of heat.
I love CJ Stroud, but he took some steps backwards last week. Breaks my heart because I love the kid, but I think he's been in the league, what, 3 years?
Right.
You have games like that. I remember, games where well, Brett Favre. I mean, he had some shitty games, and NBA. I remember one time Larry Bird only scored like 6 points in the game. So it happens. So every once in a while you have a hiccup. I'm going to look for his body of work in the past and in the future, and see if this is just an anomaly or if this is a trend. Hopefully, it's just an anomaly.
You know what's crazy about that is he's only been in the league 3 years, and his rookie year he won the AFC South the rookie year. This year he what did they wear it? He lost in the divisional round this year.
Yep.
That's 2 out of 3 years, guys. I mean, what do you want from the kid? A lot of people who throw these stones and say stuff like this, and they look at these results, and this is kind of piggybacking, even going back off of Schottenheimer back in the day. These fans who expect these perfection from these people. You come down to like Atlanta where we're losing all the time, and then you see how it really feels because you got these fans that are winning and it's not good enough for them. Like we just don't win. We want to win it all. Like, hey, everybody does, but you got to at least kind of keep your team competitive to get there. And if you can field a competitive football team, that's something, man. There's something to that, And Stroud's getting killed, but the result's pretty good.
Well, Atlanta's poor decisions. I mean, that's been their problem. Poor decisions. The Cousins thing, giving him a big bag, and then bailing on him right away. I mean, that's poor decisions there. They So I don't.
I think it's kind of rich. A Minnesota Viking fan talking about poor decisions.
Yeah, I was gonna say because if I'm not mistaken, the guy, our quarterback's not the one that's headed to the Super Bowl right now. I think it's the one that was in Minnesota. I was gonna say Sam Darnold didn't play for Atlanta. Sam Darnold played for Minnesota, man, not Atlanta.
Dave, how's our standings here? It looks like somebody's run away with the.
Oh yeah, well, I just wanted to mention a couple of things on these coaches. I mean, first was Stefanski. To me, he was one of the better coaches that was fired, and
I agree with that myself.
What's interesting is Baker Mayfield's already he's sent out some shade. He's like, hey,
sure.
you kind of. I'm still waiting for a phone call from whenever they let him go, and looking forward to playing him twice a year. So that's going to be interesting. With Miami, it's like, okay, well, first it was between Brian Flores and the general manager. Brian Flores was fired, and then there was something about the players there. And then, then it was between the coach and the GM this year. They fired the GM and they kept the coach, but then they fired the coach at the end of the year. And I think what's happened is the owner's just reaching a frustration point. He's saying, hey, I gotta clean house. I think it was Reggie had said before, get rid of both. And that's probably what they needed to do from the get-go.
Yeah, but they got rid of Flores. They got rid of Flores because they were winning with that guy, Ryan Fitzgerald. Things were going just fine, and he wanted to bench him. Fitzpatrick, excuse me. And then they wanted to put in Tua. Just all of a sudden, during the middle of the season, they're just going to bench him. And the man
I forget who was supporting who, whether that was Flores not wanting to play Tua and to stick with Fitzmagic or vice versa. But the point of the thing is that they were having dissension there and they were having to make decisions. And then he was doing it kind of partially. Hey, we're getting rid of the coach this time. Then this year it was like they got rid of the general manager mid-season, and then they waited till the end of the season to fire McDaniel. And it's like, well, just get it over with. Just rip the Band-Aid off. And then with Harbaugh, that's going to be interesting. I think that he's a good coach. I don't think that he's as good of a culture builder as Tomlin, and I'm basing that from watching the Hard Knocks, whenever the AFC North was featured. And if you saw the way that whenever they were both addressing their teams and the way the teams were responding to them, I found Harbaugh to be a little bit flat. But that just might be my bias. He's a really good coach, And so I think that as long as the Giants, as long as they can get them the talent, I think that they may be going to the playoffs.
He
And
went
maybe
there
not next year,
because of the
but soon
talent.
enough. What's
That's
that?
right. He went there because of the talent. He went there because they have a Scatterbo and
They need to get it healthy.
Yeah, but
Neighbors
they
and
need all the
Scattery both need to get
pieces.
it
It's
healthy.
not enough. You got the flashy toys, but you need to have the line. I mean, like in
yeah,
Baltimore, they had
but at
fullback,
least
Ricard.
you got to have some building blocks too. He didn't go somewhere where the cupboard was bare.
Yeah, but I think the Giants have a ways to go, in my opinion. Anyway, they're not a playoff team by any means right now.
The only one they have to beat is the Cowboys.
Well, you got the Commanders coming back. You got the Eagles. I
No respect for the
mean,
Eagles at all. I see that was just
yeah,
disrespectful. Like you just, I mean, the
yeah.
Eagles not even in that division anymore.
No,
Like
no, no. I'm saying the Eagles are number one, and then you either have to beat the Commanders or the Cowboys to be number two. It's not like it's not like the NFC South, but it's not much better.
I'd say the NFC East is a step above the NFC South, but that's
yeah,
just
it's dumpster fire down
that's
here.
my opinion.
Yeah,
But
it's crazy.
anyway, so to the scores. Um, so last week we were missing Bill and Don. So they have Bill has 3 points from the wild card round, and Don has 4 from the wild card round. James, you only scored 2 last week, and you add that to the 6 from the wild card round, you have 8, and that puts you in a tie with Anthony, who had 3 last week and 5 in the wild card round, so he has 8. So we have 3, 4, 4, 8, 8, and Reggie. You didn't do as well as you did in the wild card round, but you had 4, and so you got 11 points.
I
And
got
then
11. Okay, double digits. I'm gonna take that.
oh yeah, and then I'm somehow in the lead with 13. I don't know how. I think it's because I picked Chicago. I took Chicago in the under, and that's what helped me out there.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because they lost, but they got the point. It was the points that got.
So you're in first, Reggie's in second,
Yep.
and me
Who
and
would have thought?
Anthony.
Right. Goodness gracious.
All right, okay.
I was the caboose all season.
Yeah. Well, Don came out in the last week and won his polo, so we'll see.
And that should be in the mail to you, Don. That should be on the way.
I was hoping to get it today. I was going to wear it.
Well,
nice.
Maybe you can once you get it. Maybe you can wear it.
I'll wear it next. I'll wear it on the show next week. I'm sure.
All right. Hopefully it'll get there.
Reggie, that yours between you and Allied. I said they got your information, and it should be there as soon as I guess, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll see.
All right.
Unfortunately, this week, guys, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and we only have 2 games on Sunday. So let's start out with the early game. We had the Patriots, and they are giving the Broncos 5.5. The over-under is 42.5. Anybody got any faith in Stenham? What do you think here, Reg?
No, I'm going with the Pats. I mean, I'm sorry, I have no faith in. I mean, I probably would have gone with the. No, I've been talking Bo Nix up all year, so I would have been forced to kind of go with him if the Broncos, if he was healthy. But I do like the Pats here, so I'm gonna take the Pats. And I'm gonna go with the. Is that 42? I'm gonna go Pats and under.
Okay. And we had the Rams. Now, the Rams are getting 2.5. They're playing at the Seahawks. The over-under is 46.5, and the regular season is 1-1.
I'm going to take the Seahawks here, and I'm going to take the over. Seahawks in the over.
Final thoughts, Reg.
My final thoughts is wishing Mike Tomlin a great offseason. Take your time off here, Mike. I appreciate everything that you did here for us. Take the time off, enjoy it, and then hopefully maybe in a year or so, maybe he comes back or something like that. We'll see. But that's wishing Mike Tomlin here the best as we come into the off season here. I'm glad Mr. Scott was here for that, because that's a few more of those coming here. I got about 4 dedicated to Mike, so that was
I wouldn't expect anything less. I wouldn't expect
all right.
anything.
There's 3 more of those if you ever around from them. All right, guys. I'll see you later.
All right,
care,
you have a
Reggie.
good one, Reg. Don,
Yes.
we have the Patriots here. Like I said, they're giving the Broncos 5.5, and the over/under is 42.5.
Yeah, so it's gonna be colder than a polar bear's dick in December, wherever they're. So, yeah, the snow, ice, Arctic blast. I'm gonna go Patriots and the under.
Okay.
I would have gone Denver, except for they lost their quarterback. So, but I think Patriots will eke it out.
Okay, and you got the Rams, like I said, getting 2.5, playing at the Seahawks. Over/under is 46.5. See, during the season, they're 1-1. When it goes to the Super Bowl here, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I go. My heart says L.A., but my brain says Seahawks, and I bet with my brain, so I go Seahawks in the under.
Okay. Final thoughts there, Don.
Final thoughts. Well, this is kind of a funny little thought. Kind of when I see things on TV or on the internet, I like to do a deep dive and all that. And today I took a deep dive. So on my little news thread on my phone, I got this thing about the controversy at the national championship game. I'm like, well, what controversy? I knew that a fight kind of broke out after the game. Carson Beck didn't shake hands with the opposing team. So what the hell's going on? Well, it had nothing to do with those scandals. Apparently, a cameraman for ESPN zoomed in on a young lady, and people who are in the know went crazy. Why they go crazy? This young lady watching, cheering for Miami. Well, she's a porn star, and I'm like, we're getting all hot and bothered over a porn star being shown on TV by the ESPN cameraman. And so, me being curious, being a male, I said, "Oh, her name is Abella Danger." And so I went and Googled her and said, "Oh, wow, nice." It's good. It's good that. My thought was, it's good that she's in college. I think she's in her late 20s, but she's in college, and maybe she's left that porn career behind. Maybe she'll go to the Miami Business School, like Bill was saying. Maybe she'll major in finance and make something of herself. So, Miss Danger, good luck wherever you are. That's my final thought. Kind of humorous,
I hear you, Don. Keeping it real, Don. Bill.
So I guess keeping the theme of Steelers coaches, on this day in 1992, Bill Cowher became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he had the rather unenviable task of replacing one Charles Henry Chuck Noll. And it's always easier to be the man after the man who replaces the man, right? It was a little easier for Tomlin, right, than it was for Cowher. But Cowher had to shoulder the enormous responsibility of becoming the Steelers' first head coach since they hired Noll at the end of the 69 season. And while Noll had some losing seasons, right? I mean, the first time I really remember the Steelers at all, they'd gone 7-7 the year prior, and then sort of broke through in 72. The Steelers, obviously people now think of the Steelers as this, standard of excellence, blah, blah, blah. But the Steelers were an absolute terrible franchise for a lot of the 50s and pretty much all of the 60s. And Noel changed all that, right? Not single-handedly. He had a good coaching staff. Tom Moore and, even people like Dungy were briefly on the staff. And Cowher was not the hottest name. I mean, he was a guy that people thought would be a head coach, but it wasn't like there was this huge buzz surrounding the name of Bill Cowher. But that is also true of Noel. When Noel got the job, there was no huge buzz surrounding. There were even other coaches on the staff that he was on in Cleveland that were more highly regarded, including young Don Shula, were considered more highly regarded, young future head coaches on that same staff that he was on in Cleveland. And so, and I guess to keep the theme alive, when Tomlin got the job, he was one of the, he actually was truly a Rooney Rule interview. He got the interview in order to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Guess what?
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Incorrect.
Well, I won't say it was to satisfy it, but the Steelers front office themselves thought he would one day be a good head coach. They thought it was a little early, but he blew their minds. He was so good when they got him in the room, they decided not to let him leave. That's probably how I should have put it, but at least in part, he gets this opportunity because of the Rooney Rule. That part is true, that he gets this opportunity so early, particularly in his coaching career, because of the Rooney Rule. Without the Rooney Rule, he probably spends years climbing the ladder before he gets a chance to be interviewed for a head coaching. But the point, this is not even about him. The point is that Bill Cowher, another one of those respected but not super, super, super highly regarded names, goes into that room and makes a strong impression that he leaves with one of the most highly regarded jobs in all of professional sports. And so on this day, I remember that day in 1992 that Bill Cowher got that job. That is my final thought.
You want to give your picks now?
Yes, I most certainly do. I will take the under in the first game and I'll take the Patriots and the over, and I'll take the Seahawks and the under.
All right. Dave, I'm going to give you mine. I still like the Broncos defense. I'm going to take the Broncos and the under, and I'm going to take the Rams and the under also. Dave.
All right, I'm gonna take. I was gonna take Denver, but I'm gonna take New England in the under, and the Rams in the under. So that there, since Reggie took the Seattle in the over, I'm taking the Rams in the under.
Okay.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Yeah, well, one thing, the reason I was shaking my head, Bill, I just went over the timeline of Mike Tomlin's hiring, and actually they announced it tomorrow in 2007, 22 January. So almost the exact same date. And he was basically hired, I think it was almost 21 days after the end of the season, December 31st of 2006. But Ron Rivera was the very first person that the Steelers interviewed before Russ Grimm and before Ken Wisenhunt. And one, that fulfilled the Rooney Rule. And number two, the reason that Bill Cowher, and there had been rumors, but he retired on a Friday. They interviewed Ron Rivera on a Saturday. But the reason is because the Bears were in the playoffs. They had a bye during the wild card. So under the rules at the time, they had a short window with which to interview him. And so they did. And Ron Rivera made the short list with Mike Tomlin and Russ Grimm. Ken Wisenhunt would have been on the short list, except he accepted the job with the Cardinals. before he could get to his second interview. And they never interviewed Ron Rivera. Why? Because his team went to the Super Bowl that year. And the other coach that was rumored that they were looking at, that they never interviewed and weren't really able to because his team went to the Super Bowl, the Colts, was Jim Caldwell. So, but Mike Tomlin, he was first approached by Miami, and Atlanta was looking at him, and he interviewed for the Dolphins head coaching job. There were 7 vacancies that year. And so anyway, that's kind of the way it transpired. And in fact, Tomlin was an early candidate, although Russ Grimm and Ken Wisenhunt, they were considered to have the inside track because that was the offensive coordinator and the assistant head coach with the Steelers at the time. And they were very popular. And it was a surprise when they weren't selected, and they selected Mike Tomlin, who was one of the finalists. So, but for my last thoughts, one of the things I just want to mention is with Mike Tomlin, and I thought about this when Bill Cowher retired. I thought that I did not know that his wife had cancer. And when he stepped away, they only said it was for family reasons. They never went into any depth other than he was going to go to North Carolina to join his family. A lot of people thought that was because they were having marital problems. What nobody knew was his wife had cancer that would eventually kill her. And so there. But with Mike Tomlin, I think that his life's work, as Chuck Noll would like to say, I've always believed is coaching football. And so I think that he made the right decision for himself to step away from the game, and for the Steelers, he was taking accountability because they weren't able to win a playoff game. And so he basically relieved Art Rooney II of having to make the decision. And he said, no, I'm taking myself out. I'm hoping that after a year that the bug hits him again, because I think that this is what his passion has always been. It's not to be in a TV booth, but it's to coach football. And if you talk to any of the players, like Najee Harris, they just, in a podcast today, was just saying that Mike Tomlin told him that, hey, when they were having their exit briefing before he left, I'm giving you advice as if you were my son. And I would tell my son, go out and explore free agency. Don't come back. And that's what Najee Harris did. And no harm, no foul. And he ended up, unfortunately, he got hurt. But I think that Tomlin, there are rumors out there. I think Anthony was alluding to those earlier. And all that would prove to me is that he's human. And to be human is to be fallible. We're all fallible. But I think that the amount of good that he's done for a lot of players it just outweighs anything like that. If it is even true, which we really don't know. But I'm hoping.
Give it any credence?
Well, because I don't give it credence, but the rumors are out there, so I acknowledge that the rumors are out there. But he's been with his wife. They went to Georgia, to watch their daughter. I think she's in gymnastics to compete in gymnastics. And I'm hoping that within a year or two, he comes back to coach. I would hate to see him coaching another team, but I believe that that's his passion, just like it was Bill Cowher's passion. And I always thought that Bill Cowher would return to coaching, and I didn't want to see him coaching another team, but I thought he was a great coach. But he never did come back. So I hope I'm wrong, and whoever the Steelers do select as their 4th head coach since 1969, I hope they hire a kid that's in his 30s and is about 54, and by that time is tying or breaking Chuck Noll's regular season win record for the Steelers of 193 wins. So that's my final thought for tonight.
I'm hoping for the Rams defensive coordinator myself. I'm hoping that's who we get, but we'll see.
That's why I want Seattle to win.
Chris Shula.
Yeah. Mr. Scott, how do you want to do? You want your final thoughts? You want to give your predictions first?
Well, I'll just give a few predictions real quick. I am going to take the Broncos at home. And the reason I'm doing it, I realize their quarterback's out. But I think that coach, if he can pull this off, that's going to put him close to being like a Don Shula. If people remember when Don Shula, the quarterback, went out and Tom Matty had to play quarterback, I don't think he played quarterback all year. And they win the whole thing. I just think he's, even though I don't necessarily like him personality-wise, he wins football games. He's at home. He's getting points for the big show. I got to try it, and I think it'll be under.
Okay.
Boy, the Rams. I'm gonna stick with the Rams. I've got to stick with the Rams. I mean, they've been able to pull rabbits out, and Stafford, he's getting up there. He's a little shaky, but that Pua Nakua, thinking the Rams in the under.
I think Mr. Scott is trying to jinx me here, but I'm gonna see. I don't know here. Your final thoughts here, Mr. Scott?
Well, I don't know. Just a couple of thoughts, regarding football, and your great coach that's left. He's part of the Denny Green tree. Tom was part of Denny Green tree, and Denny Green's part of the Bill Walsh tree. And Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy and Tomlin, they're real close. I'm not sure if they coached on the Vikings at the same time, but somehow.
Tampa.
What's that?
Tampa.
Well, I know he went to Tampa. Okay, they coached at Tampa. Okay, yeah. And that Bill Walsh, and then this guy that Denny had, what was his name? Billick?
Brian Billick.
Went to the Ravens.
Won a Super Bowl. So he's part of a great tree, and so I mean, part of the Wall Street. The Denny, Denny doesn't really get a lot of credit for being the type of coach he was, because he's a great offensive mind, great offensive coach. And what else? Ty Willingham when Denny was in Stanford, so he's brought in a lot of people as part of this tree. But my last thing is just, this ice thing, man, has been driving me crazy. Today they were right around the corner. And they're just at this gas station that I go to, and I'm just like, this is unbelievable. And it's looked like, and I think what Dave said one day, nobody's backing down. And see, and this is the kind of thing, hopefully they're going to leave. Hopefully they'll be out of here soon. And then they're supposed to go somewhere else. But this has really gotten to be a real problematic. And then when you have to go through this and see it, and you don't want to go to certain places and certain stores, and it's really a little bit too close. I don't know if people are seeing this like I'm seeing it around the country, but it seems like it's a really big something going on. So I'm just hoping people are going to be safe and nobody else gets hurt on this thing. But these guys were just at the gas station around the corner. I guess they went in there to get some pop or some cigarettes or something. And all of a sudden the crowd was just all over them. The crowd, and it reminded me of the things back in Alabama that I used to watch with my mom from Birmingham, but the script was flipped, because in that thing, you wanted the government to come and intervene, because what was happening down there, you actually had a president and you had somebody that was going to come in there and do something. Now it just seems like is getting so out of control that I get concerned. You know, when you got kids and grandkids and kids going to school, it's very interesting. So the games will be very well. Looking forward to it this weekend.
All right, guys. Well, hey, as usual, great show. Looking forward to the games this weekend, and for everybody out there, regardless of where you're at, be safe.
Yeah, we're supposed to be getting a lot of snow here on the East Coast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When I called my buddy in Pittsburgh yesterday, he told me it was 19. I'm like, of course, it was 77 out here, so I couldn't say too much. But anyway.
Well, they can have it. Anybody can have it. You know, it's great.
It's coming to Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they're thinking snow.
You get snow in Houston and not a lot in San Antonio, but you do get some, don't you, Don?
3 years ago, we got 12 inches.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's some, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it stay?
12 inches stays a while,
we missed the entire week on Valentine's Day back in 2021.
But wasn't that when all the they lost all the power when all the wind generators failed?
And Ted Cruz left the country. Yeah.
All those wind farms, alternative energy,
Right.
they fucked us over.
Do they have any
weren't
snowplows? Do they have any snowplows down there?
I think probably in Lubbock, Amarillo, Dallas, probably, but not San Antonio. They just spread salt and sand on the highways.
All right, guys.
When they